I learned a long time ago that it is far better to work smarter rather than working harder. And I still believe that is true today, and especially true for private investigators trying to run their own PI firm. Making money as a PI can be a huge challenge for newer private investigators as well as for veteran PIs, to be sure. But what if I told you that there was a way to make hundreds of dollars per hour as a PI? I have made upwards of $3, $5, and even over $700 per hour with this one simple add-on service that most PIs don't ever think about doing. Now, this does involve process serving. Well, sort of. But I'm not talking about regular process serving. Nope, no door knocks involved in these cases. I am talking about doing what is called difficult serves, surveillance serves, or what some people refer to as stakeout serves. But hang on, there are a few huge secrets to making big bucks in doing these, and I will be covering that in a few moments, along with why most process servers and PIs for that matter fail at doing these. Most of you know what process serving is, but in case you don't, no problem, here is a quick review for you. Process serving is the process of providing legal documents to defendants and other individuals that are involved in a lawsuit. And I have had several videos in the past on how to add this lucrative line of business to your PI business, so I won't go over all of those details again in this video. But I think it is safe to say if you are not doing serves, you might want to consider doing them, especially these high dollar types of serves that can earn you hundreds of dollars every hour. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. Most process serves go pretty well as planned. You knock on the door, the guy or the gal answers the door, you identify them, then hand them the papers, and cha-ching, the job is done. You have earned your money. Sure, there are times you have to go a few times to get them to answer the door, but they usually never give you any problems. They just take the papers and close the door as they read those papers. But there are those that don't go so well, like when the defendant or respondent is ducking service. Now, this ducking service simply means they are avoiding the process server and trying to hide so they won't get served. Like that will really help. Everyone eventually always gets served. And if they are a defendant in the case, let's say a civil lawsuit, well, they are not just racking up the dollars spent by the other side. Oh no, they are racking up the dollars they will pay in the end, because most of the time the plaintiff or the side suing the defendant is able to include any and all reasonable legal costs to getting the defendant served and in collecting on any judgments. Now, based on my experience, many times when clients come to me and say the defendant is avoiding service, I actually find out otherwise pretty quickly. I always ask them to send me any notes, email communications, and affidavits from prior process servers so I can see what is really going on. Many times I see they hired the sheriff's department and the deputy went out on a Monday morning at 10 a.m., knocked on the door, no one answered, so they left their business card. Then the deputy, making sure he does his due diligence, goes back out on Friday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, knocks on the door, then leaves another business card. Then sometime the following week, they run the defendant for a phone number, call them about 9 o'clock in the morning, and ask them to please call them back. Then after never hearing back from the defendant, they write up an affidavit of non-service stating all of their attempts and stating that the subject may be avoiding service and the client should try hiring a private process server. Well, in case you didn't see the pattern there, what most deputies and other law enforcement officers do while serving papers is they go out while they're out doing routine patrols, which is usually when all of the rest of the world is at work. So it should come as no surprise that no one answered the door, and well, most people don't bend over backwards to call a deputy when they leave a card in the door with little to no information as to why they're visiting them. Now the client hires a regular process server to go out and try to serve the papers, but it gets even more complicated. Most process servers go out in the evenings, the weekends, and early morning hours when people are home. And this makes sense, and it is pretty much standard operating procedure for almost all process servers out there. Now, obviously, if we have information that the subject works overnight shifts from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m., well, we would need to adjust those times to try to get them served before they go to work or right after they get home. Regardless of the processes and the procedures, though, given our example serve case where the sheriff's department tried without success first, most process servers will not be highly successful either. This is because now the subject knows someone is trying to get hold of them and they do start avoiding service, not answering the door, and this can become evident. Maybe the process server went by 4 times, and once there were lights on inside. And another attempt, there were lights on, and he heard someone talking to the dogs trying to get them to stop barking. So the process server automatically assumes the defendant is ducking service, and rightfully so in many cases, and they write up their affidavit of non-service and send it on to the client. Then the client says, well, now what? What can you do to help me? And most process servers say, well, nothing at this point. We don't do difficult serves. And the reason most process servers do not do difficult serves is because of the time commitment that is required. They're usually so busy, they have to just focus on doing all of the serves that they have on their desk, and they have little to no time to commit to anything else. And the bigger mistake they do is assume the difficult serve pays only slightly higher than a regular serve. You see, most process servers charge around $95 a serve. And if they do take on these harder serve cases, they just use that baseline as a price line for the stakeout serves. So they might charge the client, let's say, $200. This is double what they would normally charge, so it is pretty good money. Then they go out and they sit there for a couple of hours one evening and never see the subject. So they go and they knock on the door and they get no answer. Then they move on to do the regular serves. Then it dawns on them. They could have done 4, 6, 8, or even more serves in that 2-hour period and decide, nope, not going to do those again. Now they're behind the 8 ball with all of their other clients. So it is rush, rush, rush every day to try to get caught up. So if the sheriff won't do it, if the process servers won't do it, why should a PI do it? Well, if you offer this premium service in the right way and you work it the right way and you do your investigative work the right way, you can make hundreds per hour very easily. Remember, first of all, this is a premium service that no one else wants to do. Do not, I repeat, do not sell these jobs with an hourly fee. You need to sell these jobs with what I call one-off pricing. A difficult serve, surveillance serve, or stakeout serve demands the price of $750 from my companies. That is right, $750. And this gets the client up to 4 hours of surveillance. I charge that $750 for every 4-hour period that we schedule, but we plan those jobs for the best possible success rate to get it done the first time. And that fee, $750, is for up to 4 hours. So if I get the person served in the first 30 minutes, well, I just made $1,500 per hour. If it takes me the full 4 hours, well, now I make $187.50 per hour for my surveillance time. Based on my experience, most of them are served in 1 to 2 hours. So if it takes 2 hours, well, that is $350 per hour. Now, I base the $750 price to cover up to 4 hours on surveillance, plus any drive time, mileage, upfront research time, and time making the affidavit and report at the end. Then I make sure I do a full upfront investigation on the subject and make sure I can be as successful as possible. I try to locate where they work and, if possible, when they work. Most people work regular jobs, so I can go out around 6 o'clock in the morning, set up surveillance, and they will usually leave within the first 2 hours. When they leave the house, I can often just pull up and block the driveway, jump out, walk up to them, and serve them in their car. And you know what? Even if they refuse to take the papers, you can just place them on the car and they have been served. You can write this up as a service by refusal or even as a personal serve, as you have provided them the papers. I also make sure I have my body cam on when I do this as well. And I try to have my dash cam pointing towards them too. If they do get in their car and leave quickly, then I just follow them to wherever they're going. And it is not like regular surveillance. I don't care if they notice me. In fact, if they do notice me and pull over, well, then I can just serve them. If they stop to get coffee, fill up the car, or I follow them to work, I can just serve them wherever they are going. I have even served people at stoplights right there on the road. The key is to do the research to set yourself up for the best chance of success. Make sure you charge a premium price for the premium service. Do not sell it by the hour, and make sure you have a body cam to document the serve just in case they say you didn't serve them.